Okay, having reached our appointed time this morning, I will call our meeting from June 21st, 2021, which was recessed until 9 o'clock this morning, back into session. And at this time, I would ask Commissioner Mark Johnson if he would have our Pledge of Allegiance and invocation.
If you stand, please. Pledge.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Could you join me in prayer, please? Heavenly Father, we gather this morning and we plead to you to help us with this new strain of COVID-19 that's reported to be coming back out. Please protect us from that. We also ask for your blessings and your helping, healing hands for the people who have been touched by the building collapse in Florida. It's like it's going to be pretty bad. We ask for you to be with the families as the recovery starts taking place. We still have a lot of unemployment, loss of careers, if you'll help us with that. We pray for the citizens of Harnett County, and we ask for the blessings for the Harnett County Board here that we're at this morning. We ask that you help us to make the right decisions for the right reasons. And we just ask for your healing and touching hands to touch everyone in here and give us good health. Please help us along our daily routines. We ask these things in the name of our Lord Jesus Christ. Amen.
Thank you, Commissioner Johnson. At this time, we have any additions or deletions to the published agenda?
Chairman, we'd like to add one thing, and that is discussion of the former IT building and whether to allow the Board of Education to store some materials there for a brief time. We have that scheduled for your 19th meeting. The Board of Education has asked if they can move some of this material in there early. And so that's why we need to add it today, if y'all have no objections.
Anything else?
I move that we approve the agenda as amended.
Have a motion to approve the agenda as amended. Thank you, Commissioner Weatherspoon. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Commissioner Johnson. Any discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. All right. We have Chairman Jaggers at the Board of Education on?
Yes, I'm on.
All right. And I know y'all began your meeting at 8:30 this morning, so y'all out of recess now as well?
I'm fixing to call us back out of the recess.
All right.
We were out of recess at this time.
Okay. So at this time, we will have, both boards will have a virtual presentation by Craig D. Sauer with Brooks Pierce Law Firm, and this will be concerning the upcoming redistricting following the release of the census numbers. So, Mr. Sauer, are you ready?
Good morning. I'm ready. Can you hear me?
Sounds great. The floor is yours.
All right. Well, thank you. What I've done is I've prepared a few slides to kind of guide my presentation, and if it's all right, I assume you have a video screen that would allow you to view my slides. Is that possible?
Yes, sir.
All right. I will try to, if you'll give me a second, share screen and get these slides up. Despite using Zoom for a year now, I still don't feel like I'm.
Some of them are on Zoom, but others may be calling in, so they will not have the opportunity to see your screen. So if you can, I just say that so you keep that in mind if you do need to describe something.
Understood. Yeah, and the slides are really just kind of a guide for the discussion. So I don't believe there'll be any critical content in the slides that I won't also address verbally. Are you able to see the screen that says Harnett County redistricting?
Yes.
All right. So as a little background about me, I am at the firm Brooks Pierce. We've been around since 1897. We have 100 attorneys in 3 offices in North Carolina. We're originally from Greensboro. We have an office in Raleigh and also an office in Wilmington. I have included a page in the presentation that talks about how great we are, just because we like to do that. But the short of it, and I think what's relevant to you, is we specialize in solving complex problems under pressure. We've received a lot of recognition for being able to do that in the litigation context, which is my background. But we've been able to prove our ability to do that in every context. And I think that's going to be potentially relevant to the redistricting that we're going to have to face here in Harnett County. I'll get to that a little later. A little bit more about me. My background is in litigation. I focus primarily on complex business disputes and regulatory matters before various tribunals, whether that be administrative agencies or federal court or state courts. But as part of my practice, I also advise clients on political and election matters, whether that be individuals or corporations that want to engage or express their views in the political process, whether it be compliance with election or ethics issues. But also I've advised a handful of local governments on compliance with federal and state election laws, including the Voting Rights Act. And so I have not done redistricting in the context of new census data, which is what we will be doing this fall, but I have done redistricting in the context of litigation. In other words, a county or municipality had existing maps that were challenged by people who thought that they violated either the Voting Rights Act or the Constitution. So I'm well versed in the matters that we will be dealing with as we work through drawing new maps in light of the 2020 census data. I want to start by talking about the timeline for redistricting. It is not what it was intended to be, and it's going to be a unique process for redistricting. Typically, what would happen at this point in the process is we would already have our data. We would have had the data to draw the maps back in March or April. Because of COVID and a series of storms, the Census Bureau is significantly behind pace in they fell behind in collecting the data, and they're now currently behind in processing the data and doing quality testing. In addition, there have been a number of lawsuits that have been filed against the Census Bureau related to the delay that have only added to the delay. And so as of the spring, the Census Bureau advised the public that they were going to, and this is their current official timeline, they were going to have an initial release of census data by September 23rd, but this would not be complete data. This would be high-level data. I think the way I would describe it is this is primarily to allow redistricting maybe at the state level for representatives, congressional representatives, or General Assembly representatives. So that is tentatively due on September 23rd. Then on October 14th, they would provide supplemental census data that would be more granular and hopefully would be sufficient to allow us to do the redistricting necessary at the county level for the Board of Commissioners and the Board of Education. So as of now, and if you could see the presentation, you see I have asterisks up there because those are the last official dates provided by the Census Bureau, and they're already 2 or 3 months old. And speaking to people in the field, they have concerns that the Census Bureau might not be able to hit those dates, but that is currently the official dates that they're aiming for. The pressure here comes with the fact that the filing period in North Carolina for candidates who want to run either for the Board of Commissioners or the Board of Education, the filing period opens in December 1. And as you probably know, it's difficult to determine what district you're going to run in if the maps haven't been drawn yet. And so we have to get the maps drawn and approved before December 1st. What complicates this is the current timeline for the census is that they will release supplemental data on the 14th, but they may provide additional correcting data on December 9th. So in other words, after the deadline for filing has opened for candidates, we may get another wave of data that requires us to tweak the maps. Then the filing deadline closes on the 17th, and obviously primaries kick off on March 8th of 2022. So that is the overall timeline for redistricting that we have to work with. In light of this timeline, we have a proposed process and trying to get things done as quickly as possible, with as little burden on the board as possible, in order to hit the deadline of December 1st in terms of having maps available for the candidates who wish to file. And here's our proposed timeline in terms of what we would do to work with the boards. In early August, we would provide a presentation and initial counsel regarding the legal issues that you consider in redistricting. In other words, this would talk about the Voting Rights Act, the constitutional issues both at the state and federal level that guide what the board can and cannot consider when they draw new districts. Then after the presentation and after the board members are familiar with the basic context of what they can and cannot do when it comes to drawing redistricts, we would collect what I'll call preliminary information from the board members regarding the characteristics of the county and the redistricting objectives. And so this information would include something as simple as the current district maps, a GIS share file of the precincts and neighborhoods to get a sense of what the board members define as maybe communities of interest that we don't want to draw a district line through, to kind of give us a better flavor for how the boards view the various groupings within Harnett County. And then also other objectives. For instance, one of the things that you can consider in drawing new maps is incumbency. Are current members of the board planning to run again? For instance, you can try to avoid drawing districts that require 2 members to run against each other if other factors are otherwise satisfied. And so we can collect that data in advance and have a general idea of where the maps are, what the objectives of the board are in redrawing those maps. And then when the data is available, we tentatively suspect it'll actually, the full reliable data will be available in early November or maybe late October if we're lucky. We will then have the census data that will give us an update on what the numbers in Harnett County are and how they've changed over the past 10 years. And we can take the board's, what I'll call kind of preliminary objectives in terms of what it wants for the map, and we can put together a first draft of maps. And so in early November, we would propose, when the data is available, as soon as we have it, we would take the information you've already provided us, and we would put together a first cut of a map. And in order to expedite things, we tentatively suggest that you schedule meetings in advance, maybe a meeting every 3 days, so that we could have a pre-scheduled meeting where we provide a draft of a map. We go into, I believe, closed session, discuss the changes that might need to be made, the legal issues that might need to be discussed in closed session. We then have a day and maybe a day and a half to revise the map based on the objectives of the board, in time for another pre-scheduled meeting for the board to again review it. And after the iterations necessary to get the map to the point where the board wants it, we would then be able to draft resolutions to approve the maps in late November. And so the goal, again, at a high level, is to collect data in advance of the census data. Once the census data is available, put together a first cut of maps that we would make available for pre-scheduled meetings that will allow us to quickly, and with some, I like the idea of pre-scheduled meetings because it gives people confidence that we've already got something on the books and we're ready to tackle the challenge of quickly drawing maps in a short time frame. Pre-scheduled meetings to go through the iterations. Once the maps are ready, which will have to be by late November, we do the resolutions to approve the maps, and then they're ready to go for candidate filing. Leading up to candidate filing, the maps will in all likelihood be available to the public to some extent as we go through different iterations. And so people who are considering running will have an idea of what the districts will be leading up to the final version of the maps to be approved in late November. Once the maps are approved, in order for the candidate filing period, prior to the candidate filing period on December 1, we would be ready to tweak the maps if necessary to account for the final data released by the Census Bureau in December. And so the thought there is there could be small, what we would hope will be just small inaccuracies that might change the numbers of the various districts and put them out of equality. So in other words, one district might be a little too large another might be a little too small in light of revised numbers. And so we would have to tweak the boundary to account for changes such as that. Our objective in drawing the maps in late November would be to draw them in a manner where that if we had to make changes in December in light of corrected data, they would be changes that would be, I don't want to say minor, but changes that would be easily enacted and wouldn't radically change the makeup of the map or interfere with, communities of interest or something like that. So we would forecast where we might make changes if necessary. There's also a good chance that in light of the corrected data, the numbers, in terms of the numbers of the various counties, might change, but not significantly enough where we need to make any changes. So in other words, we could get the corrected data, realize that one district is a little larger than anticipated, one district is a little smaller than anticipated, but not by a significant margin. Therefore, the maps don't need to be changed. And so therefore, we have final maps that can be used for the primaries. So that is a high level overview of what the process would entail. I'm happy to field any questions. I do want to put a disclaimer before we field questions that because this is an open meeting, because I've not formally been engaged by the board, I'm reluctant to give anything that will qualify as legal advice, both in the sense that I have not been engaged, but also it would not be deemed confidential, which is something we would want to protect through this process. And so there may be questions where I will simply have to decline to answer in light of the fact that it would constitute legal advice. But I want to welcome any questions you do have, and I want to try to answer as many as I can. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Jar. Any questions from any of the commissioners? Hearing none, Chairman Jaggers, any from the school board?
I don't have any. Does anyone else have any?
No questions, Mr. Chairman.
No questions. Vivian Bennett.
Not at this time, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, so Mr. Shire, I appreciate it. You obviously did an excellent job in your presentation since we have no questions. And we thank you for taking time to share with us this morning. And we hope you have a good rest of the day. We will be in touch. We're going to try to have some discussion surrounding presentations that we've had for someone to help us through this process. And Mr. Wood or someone will be in contact with you probably later today.
Wonderful. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you for your time. You have a good day.
You too.
Okay, that brings us to a possible motion of employment of a legal firm to assist with the election districts redistricting after the census. We have heard a presentation from Tharrington and Smith in a joint meeting earlier this year. We just heard the presentation from Mr. Sauer with Brooks Pierce law firm. And so my question would be, are we prepared to make a decision today?
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we employ, contract, whatever the proper term is, Brooks Pierce and Craig Schauer to help us through the redistricting process.
Okay, Commissioner Weatherspoon's made a motion to employ the legal firm of Brooks Pierce, working with Mr. Craig Schauer to help us through the redistricting process. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Nichols. So we have a motion and a second. Any discussion on this matter? Okay, hearing none, call the matter to vote. Ms. McCoy, how do you vote?
I don't know anything about this company, this firm. I know that the other firm that we were referring to had drawn the last district lines in 2010. So it would seem to me that this firm got to come in and start all over again what the process was in 2010. I don't understand how a new firm came about, because the consensus of the board was that we would discuss hiring the other firm. So I'm confused. I'm just very confused about what's happening here. Who contacted this firm, and how did this happen? I'm just totally confused. So right now, I don't know how to vote.
Okay. Mr. Johnson,
I vote yes for Brooks Pierce.
Mr. Nickel,
Yes.
Mr. Witherspoon,
Yes.
chair votes yes. Ms. McCoy, you,
Well, if the majority gonna vote yes, yes for me too.
okay,
They don't need me voting no.
thank you. Motion carries. Mr. Wood, if you would contact Mr. Shower later today and let him know so we can get started. I know Mr. Snow will feel good about having somebody beginning to get started, so. Okay, next we have a motion to appoint Mr. Wood, or change Mr. Wood's appointment from acting manager to interim manager effective July 1st, 2021. Would somebody like to bring that forward? And
I make a motion that we appoint George Wood, acting county manager, effective July 1, 2021.
Point correction, he's currently acting, we need a motion for interim.
Interim, I'm sorry. Let me restate that motion. I make a motion that we appoint George Wood, interim county manager, effective July 1, 2021.
I second.
Okay, we have a motion by Commissioner Witherspoon and a second by Commissioner McCoy to appoint Mr. Wood as interim manager, moving that title from acting manager to interim manager effective July 1st, 2021. Any further discussion? Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Mr. Matthews,
Mr. Jaggers, I apologize. I should have given your board a chance to consider the law firm motion, so you can go on and conduct that business at this time if you would like.
okay. I would like to make a motion, we add the selection of a law firm for redistricting to the agenda at this time. Do I have a second?
Second.
All right, I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
Yes, can you hear me? This is Vivian Bennett.
Yes, ma'am.
We didn't, can you hear me?
I can.
We didn't hear any prices from this firm. And I'm wondering why we would change firms, because this man, from what he just said, does not have any experience actually doing this.
Well, this particular motion is just to discuss which firm we're going to hire. So
okay, I'm so sorry.
Your conversation needs to come in just a few minutes.
Okay, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry.
You're good.
Okay, bye-bye.
All right, I have a motion and a second to add this to the agenda. Chairman votes aye.
Godfrey, aye.
Bennett, aye.
Jason Lemons votes aye, Mr. Chairman.
Are there any nay votes? Hearing no nay votes, the motion carries. So we'll add it to the agenda now, and it will be action item D. And we'll go into that now. I'll entertain a motion at this time.
Just a brief discussion before we go into motions. It would have helped tremendously if we would have had a little bit more information to review on this. I'm not seeing a lot. Something in a board packet with a little bit more information would have been nice. I don't have any questions about the gentleman's ability. I don't have any questions about the gentleman's credentials. And in finding someone, you only do this every 10 years, so you're not going to have anybody who's got many types of experiences. In the long term, you get about 2 and you're done in most professions. However, in the future, with activities like this, particularly if there's going to be dual board action, please make sure we get a little more information prior to the meetings. And if this was done prior and we just didn't know it, that sounds like a communication issue. That's my question and my thoughts, Mr. Chairman.
Well, this is Vivian Bennett, and I guess this would be the time to reiterate what Jason has just said. And it's just new. We just found out yesterday when I looked at the agenda, and I didn't quite know what it was about. And again, I want to talk about the price of the firm. I don't understand why we would change, because the one that we have, which services us, has for years, I thought was a good firm, and they do have experience in it. So why are we changing?
This is Don Godfrey. The only thing I have, I don't have anything negative about either one of the firms. If the county commissioner board feels like this firm that they've recommended is the one that would be the best to go with, I did listen to him and hear him say several things about their firm on what they had done and how they worked on the law cases, both in county and state, on this matter of redistricting. And the only thing that I would like to say is the next time we do something like this, let's have a live meeting instead of having a virtual, and so we can sit down and look and talk.
Did you finish, Mr. Godfrey? You cut off.
I can't hear him.
Is he still on? I think he's off. We'll have to wait a second while he comes back on. Chairman Jaggers, would you, since y'all are waiting for Mr. Godfrey, would you like to adjourn from, at least leave from our meeting, and y'all can continue your discussion, we'll continue with our agenda?
Yeah, that would be fine. I would make a motion we adjourn from the county commissioners meeting to continue our meeting.
I second.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, chairman votes aye.
Bennett, aye.
Jason Lemons votes aye as well, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Godfrey's not back on yet, so we have 3 votes. That is the majority. Motion. Any nay votes? Hearing no nay votes, the motion carries.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for listening in this morning. Dan, you want to get us out, I think is what we need. Okay. Okay, so sorry about that, Mr. Wood. Next, we'll have your oath of office administered. Who's that? Mr. Snow, you want to do that?
Mr. Wood, if you would raise your right hand, put your left hand on the Bible, and respond to your oath. This is the oath of Harnett County Interim County Manager. Do you, George Wood, solemnly swear that you will support the Constitution of the United States of America, so help you God?
I do.
Do you, George Wood, further solemnly swear that you will be faithful and bear true allegiance to the state of North Carolina, to the constitutional powers and authorities which are or may be established for the government thereof, and that you will endeavor to support, maintain, and defend the Constitution of the United States to the best of your knowledge and ability, so help you God?
I do.
Do you, George Wood, further solemnly swear that as Harnett County Interim County Manager, you will well and duly execute the duties of the office of County Manager according to the best of your skill and ability, according to law, so help you God?
I do.
Congratulations, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Snow. Thank you, Mr. Wood. Okay, that brings us to item 7 on the agenda. Motion to approve a fiscal year 22 budget amendment for Triangle South Workforce Development. Mr. Wood, hey, Mr. Price. Okay.
Good morning, Chairman.
Good morning.
Members of the board. Hope everybody's doing well. So what you have before you today is a budget amendment. Let me explain just a little bit about what that is and what we're doing with workforce development. So WIOA is Workforce Innovation and Opportunity Act. It's a federal grant administered by Triangle South Workforce Development Board. As you recall, Triangle South Workforce Development Board is an umbrella of Central Carolina, which our workforce development is under. So what they're doing is they provide funding for employment and training services to the citizens of Harnett County enrolled in the WIOA adult and dislocated worker and youth programs, in which also Sampson County is a part of this. So you have Sampson, Harnett, Lee, and Chatham that is under this umbrella of Central Carolina, which is Triangle South Workforce Development Board. So Triangle South Development Board has requested for Harnett County Workforce Development to administer Sampson County's WIOA adult and dislocated workers. So they went out for an RFP, they didn't get anybody to apply, so they're asking for Harnett County's help to come and help with that program for 1 year. So that's basically what this amendment would do, would allow Harnett County to make that happen through this budget amendment and to go into Sampson for the dislocated workers and the adult program. Charlotte Leach is our director. She would be in charge of that. Mr. Wood and I have met with her and Chris and Kenley on numerous occasions, and she is comfortable with doing this. We looked at the amount of time that it would take for her to not take away from Harnett County. She feels a certain percentage that she can make this happen. So we do have some meetings set up actually after this meeting with Central Carolina as the board so chooses to move forward with this amendment to make this happen to help out Sampson County. So that's kind of a nutshell of where we're at with that, and be glad to answer any questions.
I just wanted to add that the reason we have to do this at the 11th hour is they have to have a budget in place. Otherwise, they can't operate starting tomorrow with this. So that's why we've had to add it to the agenda today. The discussion we've had and we'll have this afternoon is for the length of time. I personally am concerned about tying up Charlotte's time for a full year. This is about the third time that we've done this, as I understand it.
That's correct. That's correct.
And they've had some issues. I think that's why they were not successful in attracting a bidder to take this over. They are in the process of cleaning that up. I believe they've had some turnover at the top of their organization. And so the college is addressing those issues. But in discussing it with Charlotte, she feels like with having she already knows one person in Sampson who has a job, and if we hadn't done this budget today, she would be unemployed effective tomorrow. But with the budget, they can keep her on, and Charlotte's confident that she can do a good job in helping her. The grant, also, the 2 grants that you're going to be doing as budget amendments would also allow them to hire 2 additional people. So all of them would work under Charlotte, but they have to be under someone like Charlotte who's running one of these 4 county workforce development agencies. So the issue that we have is tying her time up. We think it's going to take around 25% of her time. That's a guesstimate. But with that additional help, we think it can be that. My concern is that's 25% of her time that we aren't getting for our citizens. And I don't mind helping another entity, but I'm of the opinion we ought to put a timeline on it of around 4 months, which by doing the budget, you allow them to stay in business. You give them 120 days to go out and contract with someone else to do it. Because I just think a year is too long for us to lose that amount of manpower in our operation. So
And as I understand it, these grant funds, so they're basically pass-through funds that help maintain this program, so we're not talking about taxpayer dollars. We are
It's federal
are
dollars.
talking about some time from Charlotte's attention that she would be able to give to Harnett County, that some of that will now be directed to Sampson County. So essentially, I guess, we're being asked to help our neighboring county a little bit.
That's what it amounts
That's
to.
correct. That's
And
correct.
what they're doing is, she would get a 10% increase, and that would come from some of their money to do that, plus they can hire the 2 additional people. There is a limitation in these grants that only 6% of the money can be used for administrative costs, and so that limits how many people we can hire and for how long and that sort of thing. So, and my recollection from the conversation was that if they hire those 2 people, give her 10%, that's bumping to 60%. And so we couldn't do more than that.
That's right.
So I guess the hope then would be that if Charlotte can help this new group get on their feet, that they might be able to attract some interest if they issue another RFP.
That's what we're hoping, that she could groom somebody for that position.
Right.
And what Mr. Wood was referring to with the 4 months, we hope we can get somebody in place for that to happen. She does have one individual that's very capable of doing that. So as you mentioned, it would just be helping out our neighboring county.
Right.
So what we're asking you to do today is to approve the budget amendments, so that they have a budget going forward tomorrow. Otherwise, they're out of business on these 2 programs. And then we will come back to you after we've had our meeting, and we'll come back to you on the 13th at the work session and give you our final recommendation on it. And then you would vote on the 19th if we want to enter into an agreement with them going forward.
That's right.
But by doing these budget amendments, we're kind of implicitly saying we'll do it, but we haven't nailed down the terms, and that's what we want to nail down between now and the 19th. I certainly wouldn't recommend that you rush out and get into a contract we haven't even negotiated it out yet. You know, this is all 11th hour, 59th minute stuff.
Right.
Thank you
So-
thank you for that explanation.
So we're not setting the length of time today. We're just approving the budget.
We're just approving the budget and more or less stipulating that you'll do it for now, but the terms are to be worked out.
Okay.
And Chris has been in these meetings, we'll continue to have him in there because I think they've already sent a draft.
Yeah, we got the draft yesterday, just got it.
They sent a letter of intent for us to enter into a contract, so this will set out possible terms, what we want to do, if you all approve a contract on the 19th.
So I think this meets the conditions where they can stay in business, and then it gives us more time to study it a little further and then make the final recommendation to you about the length of time. And I'm sorry it's convoluted, but it's an interesting way to do it. One of my questions, and I'm sure one of your questions is, if this money's going to be spent in Sampson County, why are we approving the budget? And the answer to that is because whoever is going to administer it has to approve the budget. And so it will actually run through our books.
That's right.
For as long as you continue to do it. So I wanted to explain that to you as well, because that was one of my first questions is explain to me why money spent in Sampson County has to go through Harnett County and be approved by the Harnett County Board of Commissioners.
That's right.
So I hope I've explained it well enough for you.
And Ms. Honeycutt, you probably have a little bit more on your plate as well, won't you?
Just a little.
So, any further discussion on this matter? So basically, as I understand it, we're just trying to help them not lose their grant
That's right.
if we don't
It's for these
assist them
two
with it.
programs, and we're already doing one.
That's right.
For them, this will be the other two.
That's correct.
And Ms. Leach is comfortable doing it for the full, up to the full year, if that's what you want. Like I said, she's done it twice before.
Okay. Okay, any further discussion? If not, do I hear a motion? I'll make a motion to approve the budget amendment fiscal year 22 for Triangle South Workforce Development for Sampson County Workforce Innovation and WIOA Adults and Disabled Workers. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Commissioner Nickel. Any further discussion? Mr. Johnson, how you vote?
I vote yes.
Ms. McCoy?
Yes.
Chairman votes yes. Mr. Witherspoon?
Yes.
Mr. Nickel?
Yes.
Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank y'all.
We'll just look forward to hearing back from you after you've had your meetings. And then the added item that we added to the agenda would be discussion of the IT building. Mr. Haney?
Good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
Doing fine. I'm here to discuss the disposition of the former IT building at 201 West Front Street, Lillington. Our IT department previously was located in 2 buildings across the river. They recently moved to the former administration building at 420 McKinney Parkway just across the street. That move leaves 2 buildings vacant. One of those buildings has been identified as a potential home for workforce development. The other, which is 201 West Front Street, we have not identified a county need for this building. The Board of Commissioners approved on May 3rd a joint resolution to enter into a 3-way property exchange with the Harnett County Board of Education and the town of Lillington. We are planning to bring, I think, the final documents to you for consideration at your next meeting. But the property at 201 West Front Street was not included in this exchange. Harnett County Schools has expressed an interest in this building for, I believe, their child nutrition program. This is currently housed on the property that is included in this property exchange, to my knowledge. And they will need a place to relocate those employees to. We're planning to bring this to you for consideration at your next meeting as well, but we have received a request from the Board of Education to allow them to begin moving into this building should the board decide to donate that property, so that they're not having to coordinate that when school is coming back in session. The county is currently out of this building. There is furniture in the building, which we would like to make available to our municipalities and some other entities. And we are planning to bring a resolution before you, if you're comfortable with it, at your next meeting to donate the remaining furniture in this building and some other vacant properties. That's similar to what we did recently with some of the furniture from the former library, donating that to the municipal branches. We will need to move that furniture out, obviously, prior to the school system moving in. So the request today is for the board to consider whether you wish to give this property to Harnett County Schools, and if so, will you authorize staff to work with them to allow Harnett County School staff to begin moving into this building before the transfer is finalized? And with that, I'm available for any questions.
Thank you. And as I understand it, at least from the research, the study, and as y'all have looked into this, we do not have a county department that would be small enough, I guess, to occupy that facility, or that it's needed for occupancy for anything we have.
That is correct. We've looked at the remaining departments that do need something, a space, and this building was not identified as suitable for any of those needs.
Thank you. Any other questions for Mr. Haney?
Did I hear you say that we give this to the school board? Or is there some kind of a swap involved, or?
Correct. This would
are
just
they going
be
to purchase it, or what?
Pardon?
Are they going to purchase it, or what?
Well, that's certainly up to the board to decide what you've got before you. There is no requirement that we have a fair market value swap with the school system. So the request from the school system is a donation of this building.
I guess another way to look at it is you provide their facility.
Yeah.
And in theory, similar to the rest of the property exchange, this would alleviate the need to provide a separate facility for these functions.
I make a motion that we donate this building to the Harnett County School System and vacate it as soon as possible.
Thank you, Commissioner Witherspoon. Do we have a second? Second. Thank you, Mr. Nickel. Any further discussion?
Does the motion need to be amended in order to include the furniture and
No, we will bring that to you at your next meeting.
Mr. Chairman, if I may, can we just clarify, because there's two IT buildings, we're looking at putting workforce development in one, can we just say the address?
Let me amend the motion to state that this is the building at 201 West Front Street.
Correct.
Thank you.
Okay.
Okay, we have amended motion, second from Mr. Nickel. Any further discussion, questions?
Mr. Chairman, didn't he also request that we authorize county workers to help move the furniture? Should that be in the motion?
No, authorize county staff to manage the transition. That would include the removal of furniture from that space to allow them to move in.
So the
But
motion's
we can
valid.
we can certainly handle that internally.
Okay.
Thank you. Any further questions? Okay, this time, Commissioner Nickel,
yes.
Commissioner Witherspoon,
Yes.
Chair votes yes. Commissioner Johnson?
Yes.
Commissioner McCoy? Thank you. Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Haney?
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, Mr. McCoy?
I want to address the board while I'm sitting here. I'm sitting here. I want to say this. I'm not above sitting on the end of the podium because I've sat there for many years. What I am disagreeing on was the way it was done. It was mean-spirited to do that to a county commission. This board, this county commission board consists of 5 people, not 3. So that's all I gotta say now. I will make a statement to the public as to why I'm sitting here. I will give them the full reason, because no one is gonna ever take my right away from me to represent my constituents. And that grows beyond District 1. It grows to all of Harnett County. I stand to represent all of them. Thank you. I appreciate you.
Thank you, Commissioner McCoy. Any further business to come before this board this morning?
Mr. Chairman, if I may.
Yes.
prior to call adjournment, I think it behooves us to wait before we adjourn to hear what the Board of Education did as far as who they chose, because the whole purpose of both of these proposals is that both boards would go to the same entity. I just want to make sure they don't pick the other
Okay.
law firm, and then we're right back to square one. We're going in both different directions. So while we're still got the item on the agenda, and while we're here, I would suggest that we allow staff to contact the Board of Education, just find out who they chose before you adjourn, in case you need to do anything. Do you have this?
I do. Well, let me try to call. Hey, have y'all finished your meeting? Right, did they pick a firm? Uh, okay, so y'all don't have that information? Okay, right, yeah. Right. Right. Okay, all right. Okay, all right, sounds good. All right, thank you. Bye. They did not take any action. They're gonna take action on the 19th. They did not have the information from Brooks Pierce. Or they didn't have any information about price or anything like that. So if we could get that information to them, that would be good before their next meeting. Chairman Jaggers did say that, that they had evidently called and verbally were told how much it would be, but they would like to have whatever packet of information we have. Okay, so, Mr. Snow, we've made a decision. I guess we won't know the Board of Education's decision until the 19th, but that being said, I don't know what more we can do today. Excuse me?
Do they meet in the morning?
Let's see when they.
Because our meeting on the 19th will be his 9th, right?
They meet in the morning then.
Yeah, I believe they do meet in the morning. I don't have
I
it
just
on.
want to make sure that
calendar.
we can be through with this on the 19th.
Don't they meet the first Monday?
I guess because that was 4th of July week, that,
That's right.
that one was skipped.
Okay.
Yeah, it does seem like we've had a good long break as often as we meet recently. So. Let's see, our next work session's on the 13th, and then next regular meeting's on the 19th. Yeah, they have, I just got a text, they've got a special call board. They're gonna have a special call meeting on July 19th at 8:30 to vote on the law firm for the redistricting. Okay, sorry, Mr. Snow, I thought we finally reached the end of the road, but maybe not. Okay, anything else to come before the board this morning? If not, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Make a motion, we adjourn.
Thank you, Commissioner Witherspoon. Thank you, Commissioner McCoy. For the second, all in favor say aye. Aye. We are adjourned.